Hello, Buddha the Basin here. Welcome to the summer, Wednesday, June the 3rd. The three spirals of Chi. Number one, the hook and the core premise. So today we are bringing ancient Vedic mysticism and combining that with modern channeled cosmology. We are mapping the three spirals of light from the law of one directly onto the cosmic trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and showing you how they rule your chakra system and really your personality. How they can move you from survival mode to creator mode. What's my thesis? The universe doesn't just create energy, it organizes it through three distinct cosmic functions: generation, preservation, and transformation. Remember, the universe is one mind. Okay, it's the one mind is the step down from the one, which is unknowable. And from the one mind, you get this world soul, which is, you may argue, the bank of consciousness or the bank of souls, if you want to look at it like that. And then lastly, you have the step down into matter. So we have to unlock our soul, as in our consciousness, within this material realm. And we do that by yoking our soul back to this one mind. But the one mind, in a sense, is divided into three aspects. And that goes back to how energy and consciousness and the mind all kind of work together. So Brahma represents the generative aspect, Vishnu the preserving, and Shiva the transformative. Now, this information comes in terms of the three spirals from the law of one. In session 49, Ra explains that the one infinite creator, or the one, his energy, or her, or its energy, moves in three distinct spirals of light. So the mechanics are really this unmanifested energy, this pure oneness, if you will, becomes intelligent energy, or the Kundalini epistrophe, right? If you combine the Kundalini, the uncoiling upward motion of the caduceus serpents, of your DNA double helixes, and you match that with this idea in Plotinus's Neoplatonic cosmology that all that has come from the source must return to source. Then you get this idea how the unmanifested energy eventually becomes intelligent energy and coils upward to meet the creator. So these spirals are really the universe's cosmic gears, transforming raw potential into experiential reality. Now, the spiral one, that is Brahma, the generative spiral. So the concept is simple. The first spiral is the initial push of creation into physical form. The deity is Brahma, although we typically view Brahma impersonally. But he's the creator. He represents the outward projection of the absolute into space, time, and matter. Spiral two is Vishnu. This is the sustaining spiral related to the heart chakra. The second spiral is the balancing, organizing force that allows life to experience itself. The deity for this is Vishnu, the preserver, or Krishna. He maintains the cosmic order, the Dharma, and allows the illusion of space-time to hold together. The last spiral is spiral three. This is Shiva, the transmutative or transformative spiral. This is the upward pull back toward unity, piercing the veil, dissolving the illusion. And the deity is Shiva, the destroyer transformer. He breaks down forms so that energy can return to source. And you can throw in Mother or Mama Kali as well into this, as he kind of goes with Shiva, as the ego surrenders into bliss. Segment three, the microcosm. So again, how does this cosmic dance of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva play out? Well, it maps directly onto your spine. And you can also argue that each of these deities, the masculine aspect corresponds to the back of the spine, or the will aspect, whereas the female counterpart corresponds to the front, as the front is the conception vessel where you surrender and let the cerebral spinal fluid travel back down the front. And the back is the will vessel, or the conception. No, the governing vessel is the back. And that's where you consciously, with effort, bring the chi up to the crown chakra. And you guide your awareness and your will. But when it's time to return back, you have to surrender the flow and not try to control it. Okay, so the lower triad is Brahma's domain. These are chakras 1, 2, and 3. We have the root or red chakra, the sacral orange chakra, and the solar plexus. These are governed by Brahma, the impersonal. Brahma also goes back to the bull, right? The manifest power of this creation life energy that you see in elephants and horses and bulls. And that's why these beings and cows, they were revered for their just the abundance of the creation life energy that forms these massive beings. Then we have the heart and the throat. This is Vishnu's domain, 4 and 5. The heart green and the throat blue. This is the bridge. The heart chakra is often depicted as like a Star of David, where you have the inner penetrating triangles, because this is where the two become one, where the soul, body, spirit aligns with the physical form, where the clockwise rotation of the earth meets this counterclockwise rotation, if you will, of the heavens, and they become interconnected, and the light imprints upon the matter and the water, and we get, with the spark, a little consciousness, and it's magnetized in there with the magnetite, so we get memory. So then, and of course, the heart is the real governor of consciousness. People, it's the heart rate variability that signals to the brain. And the heart rate variability, to a great degree, is determined by a level of diaphragmatic breathing versus shallow chest breathing. If you want less anxiety, then allow your breath to return to the diaphragm. Because again, you're charging this area of the body ruled by Brahma. You're filling this area of the body up, so you feel your sense of personal power as a creator, as a bull, right? And you just allow Brahma to sort of feel that sense of power without aggression, without any need to do anything with the energy. It's more like that effortless woo way. You're just filling up the tank the same way you do at the gas station, or the same way you do when you eat. You just eat until you're full, until you're satisfied. Well, this is the nature of Brahma. You actually have to let the legs, those leg gates, kind of feel. You want to feel the chi energy, which is an intelligent plasma that's made not just of the nitric oxide, nitrous oxide, oxygen, and peroxide, but it's also the ions that are sort of going in, that are also following the electromagnetic field lines of your own body, which is just a remarkable thing. Anywho, Shiva's domain is the third eye, which is the indigo chakra and the crown. This is the gateway to intelligent infinity, where you have to let go and surrender your ego to return home to source. So Shiva rules here because these energy centers require the dissolution of the ego and the destruction of the illusion of separation to achieve spiritual awakening and unity with the One. So as we return to session 49 of the Raw Contact, question 5. In this session, Ra describes the complex spiraling pathway of the upward spiraling light as it moves through the body's energy centers. Specifically, the precise sequence is from the green ray heart center through the shoulders, arms, up and down the ears, down the feet. This is the exact description Ra gives for the third spiral, which we're going to go into greater detail here. And I'll also do a video sort of showing it, although it's kind of impossible to show this, but we'll do our best. So question 5, when the questioner, Carla Ruckert, asked about how light enters and spirals through the physical vehicle, Ra details 3 distinct spirals. So the third spiral is the one that corresponds to Shiva. The third spiral originates from the green ray center, moves across the shoulders to the right arm, down the inside of the arm, up the outside of the arm, through the right ear, across the head to the left ear, down the left arm, through the stomach, and down the left leg. This is part and parcel of this chi macrocosmic orbit. It's the microcosmic orbit that goes from the dantian up the back body, as I was saying, and then down the front body. That is called the microscopic. But the larger macroscopic actually integrates your electromagnetic field with the Earth's magnetic field. Whereas the first microcosmic is just calibrating your own heart field to your breath, to the cerebral spinal fluid, to the sacrocranial pump that's pushing cerebral spinal fluid into your third and fourth ventricles. Okay, so the law of one community has translated this highly technical channeling into various diagrams. If you're interested, Diana from the LNL research group, she circulated this information. But the first two spirals are really about bringing up the energy and the light from the from the red or root chakra, which is usually right nostril breathing, and intertwining up the central column, similar to the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. So the third spiral branches off into a bizarre crossbody circuit. It maps the energetic feedback loops that process love, intent, and conscious will through our physical and sensory appendages, arms, ears, digestive core, and grounding leg. So while Ra does not explicitly name the Merkaba in this exact quote, study groups frequently superimpose this circuit inside a star tetrahedron or Merkaba. Because the geometry perfectly encloses the crossbody tetrahedral lines traced by this very energy path. So we also map the yoga bandhas to this. So the primary axis, this is Brahma, the creator. So this channel anchors directly into the root red chakra, pulling foundational, unmanifested creation energy from the earth. This is the right upward spiral, bringing the energy up from the earth through this perineum complex. And as you sort of tuck the pelvic floor and kind of lift up on the perineum, you bring this energy up into the body, okay, with those thigh abductor muscles, those levitator muscles, as long as the splenic nerves and the pelvic floor are relaxed. And from here, that's your root chakra, and then it goes into your sacral basin or sacrum or sacral chakra, where this physical act of breathing and this tightening of the musculature creates the piezoelectric vibration in the sacrum, that by touching the tongue to the roof of the mouth, you can help to connect it to the pineal and then to the pericardial sac around the heart. Which brings us to the second spiral. This is Vishnu, the harmonized, intertwined fields meeting directly in the heart chakra. This intersection acts as a 0-point balancing act where the magnetic, which is the female, and the male, the electric, these superimpose these tetrahedrons, which stabilize this Merkaba, or this chariot. For this part, we recommend breathing in a so hum. That hum is a vasodilating vibration that also allows nitric oxide to be generated and, I guess, dispensed, if you will, into the nasal cavity. Hum, which I'm going to get into here in a second. But the last spiral is Shiva, the transformer. This describes a final, radically asymmetrical, energetic circuit that breaks out of the central column. It loops through the arms, heads, and ears to distribute, discharge, and dissolve limitations, preparing the consciousness for objective realization. So how are we doing this? Well, there's a marriage of air and earth, which is nitrogen and carbon in the most basic of systems. We have the five-fold symmetry of nitrogen, which is the primary gas of our atmosphere / air. When this gas locks together with the six-fold crystalline symmetry of carbon, the foundational backbone of solid matter or earth. So by breathing consciously, we process the gas to alter physical tissue. We create these plasmas, these cold plasmas in the fusion chamber of our lungs. The marriage of air and fire, that's oxygen and hydrogen. The eightfold symmetry of oxygen represents the true alchemical fire of the body. It is the terminal electron acceptor in the mitochondria that literally burns fuel to create ATP energy. The tetrahedral solution, which is hydrogen and water, when this eightfold burning oxygen encounters hydrogen, they don't form fire, they form liquid water, which structurally locks into a tetrahedral hydrogen bonded network. This tetrahedral geometry is what grants water its unique dielectric property, acting as a supreme capacitor for the fluid electricity of consciousness. Thus, the tetrahedral bit is not the fire itself. People would always represent fire as a tetrahedron, but it's a structural crucible of water in the plasma that captures electrical discharge when air, oxygen, combines with this internal metabolic fire, integrating the bioluminescent chemistry of reactive oxygen species and reactive nitrogen species into the law of one framework, elegantly anchors esoteric prana into quantum biology. Here's the interesting thing. When you track the emission wavelengths of these molecules, you discover they align precisely with the experiential narrative. So the science of the indigo glow. In cold plasma physics and cellular biochemistry, the excitation of nitrogen and oxygen gases does not produce generic light. It yields specific violet, indigo, and near ultraviolet luminescent wavelengths. So we have the nitric oxide, that's NO, and we have nitrous oxide, N2O, plasma, under electrical or metabolic excitation. Air-based nitrogen and oxygen form transient gas plasmas. Cold atmospheric plasma discharges containing nitrogen naturally glow in a signature deep violet-blue range. Then we have the peroxide H2O2 and the singlet oxygen O2 cascade. When the mitochondria is supercharged during intense breath states, like your Kriya from the Art of Living, the Siddharshan Kriya, they generate short-lived, highly reactive oxygen ions. The spontaneous relaxation and electronic transitions of these excited states release photons primarily clustered in the indigo-violet spectral bands. So when a practitioner alters their breath, they are effectively turning the vascular tract into an endogenously glowing gas discharge tube. The Sushumna. So cognitive mechanics, active imagination, and thinking strategies. This biological plasma does not just float aimlessly. It fundamentally alters neural architecture to produce the states of active imagination so beloved by Carl Jung. So as we take conscious deep breaths, we generate nitric oxide, nitrous oxide, and the superperoxide plasma. It glows a violet indigo. It leads to the rapid vasodilation of the capillaries, the flooding of the frontal and parietal lobes with oxygen, and the hypersynchronization of gamma waves, which unlocks the active imagination. The instant generation of nitric oxide dissolves tension in vascular smooth muscle. This drastically widens brain capillaries, allowing a rapid surge of glucose and oxygen to cascade into the frontal and parietal lobes. It dissolves cognitive rigidities, normal everyday linear thinking, and the default mode network. They operate under restricted low bandwidth neural loops. When the violet plasma, the violet flame, stream of reactive ions bathes the synapses, it alters the cell membrane permeability. This permits the brain to override standard pathways, birthing entirely new thinking strategies that effortlessly bridge disparate concepts. By stimulating the brain's internal electrical fields, this cold plasma current transitions the practitioner out of passive daydreaming and straight into high-intensity, hyperlucid, active imagination. This allows the subconscious mind to present itself as a sharp, mathematically structured, geometric vision matrix. Okay, that's not. This allows the subconscious mind to present itself as sharp, mathematically structured geometric vision matrices. Yes, in other words, the state of active imagination, if it's anchored into the Brahma, Vishnu, and the Shiva, if you get, which also keeps the brain actively engaged in lower alpha and theta waves, as long as you keep those waves, you stay in the witness frame. The theta consciousness wave of 4 to 6 hertz cycles per second allows your somatosensory awareness of Brodmann's area really to kick on in 1 through 3. Uh, And that keeps you in a nice witness mode of consciousness as you're just witnessing the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations. The diaphragmatic breathing kind of allows the alpha wave to sit nicely on top of that, which is, I suspect, the second spiral of the so hum. And then the last on top is the Shiva spiral that starts at the heart and goes to the right arm as you breathe through your right nostril. And this energy comes the inside of the arm, up from down the palm, up the fingers, and then back up the back side of the arm, over the shoulder, still breathing with your right nostril, and it comes up through your right ear. Then you kind of let go, and it goes through your brain, and you turn to your left eye and left nostril. And then you breathe out with the left nostril, breathing with the left nostril, and you feel this cold plasma of chi going and blood going down your left arm, and then you kind of let the energy awareness travel from your left arm to your digestive tract, and then down the left leg. It is sort of a magnetic spiral that follows the electromagnetic field lines of your body, and the magnetite that's not just in that's in the digestive tract, and it's in the hemoglobin. It's hemoglobin in your blood. It's along these giant macromolecules that accumulate on your spine around the endocrine glands to form these chakras. And so the goal of the Shiva spiral is to actually activate the violet ray. This is the seventh chakra. It's not just the crown center, it's the ultimate summary protective shell and the zipping up point of the entire entity's vibrational state. According to Ra, the violet ray is the envelope of the total beingness. It is the register of the true identity of the mind body spirit complex. When you bring the violet plasma of excited nitrogen oxygen species and the alchemical violet flame into this model, the synergy becomes clear. You have the root creative energy of Brahma, the heart superposition of Vishnu, the asymmetric dissolution Shiva, the seventh chakra violet ray envelope, the transmutation of density in the indigo violet gas plasma cascade. So the physical generation of the indigo violet plasma, nitric oxide, peroxide, and singlet oxygen acts as a biological substrate of the violet flame. It literally burns away cellular stress and oxidative density. My thanks to Elizabeth Clare Prophet. The metaphysical dissolution. In the Trimurti framework, this is the ultimate function of Shiva. The violet flame dissolves the old karmic architecture and rigid cognitive loops to make room for the non-local awareness. The final zip up. Once the density is transmuted, the energy ascends to the crown. The violet ray zip up registers this pristine state of coherence and zips up the entire column, sealing the practitioner's lower chakras into a unified, balanced state of higher consciousness. This is the Merkaba. Visualizing the violet flame zip up blueprint. So chanting Om and humming or doing the so hum. This is highly effective for the localized acute burst of the nitric oxide. Again, on a secondary thing, if you want nitric oxide to be more sustained through your body and you want a systemic level of vasodilation, You're probably going to want to get nitric oxide in a capsule. It won't be nitric oxide itself. It'll be like the amino acid precursors to it. That's what Google says. But you can get nitric oxide for free from your nose, but you kind of have to keep doing that. So again, your paranasal sinuses are continuous factory lines for the gaseous nitric oxide. When you breathe quietly, this gas slowly trickles into your airways. However, clinical studies show that low-frequency humming creates acoustic oscillations that act like an introductory pump, rapidly draining the sinuses and spiking nasal nitric oxide levels up to 15 times higher than normal exhalation. When you inhale that concentrated bolus of nitric oxide gas into your lungs, it acts as a powerful bronchodilator, optimizing oxygen transport right at the respiratory interface. So yes, metaphysically you're moving prana or chi, but biologically you are consciously manipulating a highly specific, localized, internalized biofluid plasma circuit. This circuit is made of reactive oxygen and nitrogen species, nitrates, nitrites, all using the literal fluid conductivity of your blood and cerebral spinal fluid as the wiring grid. So if we want to go into this trimurti heart rate variability protocol, step one is rooting the base. This is Brahma and the first spiral. You begin with slow, deep, diaphragmatic gut breathing, a 4 or 5 second inhale and a 5 to 6 second exhale. Engage a subtle contraction of the pelvic floor, that's the Mula Bandha. This slow pacing maximizes your heart rate variability, shifting the nervous system out of fight or flight and into a state of physiological coherence. You are waking up the ego at your door, or the arisen Scorpio, the dormant primal survival energy at the base. By pulling up from the pelvic floor, you activate Brahma's first spiral, drawing unmanifested creation energy straight out of the earth, or earthly chi, and into the body's physical matrix. When you're doing your qigong and you're bringing the chi up from the earth, up by your legs to the pelvic floor, this is what you're doing. Ascending the crucible. This is step 2. Vishnu in the second spiral. On the exhale, initiate a silent or vocalized resonance chant such as so, hum, or Allow the vibration to rattle the back of your throat and the chest cavity. This vocal vibration stimulates the vagus nerve, while simultaneously triggering a massive acoustic release of nitric oxide in your nasal and paranasal cavities. As you inhale this gas, it produces instant pulmonary vasodilation, super-oxygenating the blood returning to your heart. This acoustic and chemical surge carries energy directly up to the green ray heart center. Here, Vishnu's second spiral takes over. The heart acts as a zero-point dynamo, superimposing the male and female tetrahedrons, the Merkaba, to stabilize your biomagnetic field. Step 3. So now you close your left nostril and inhale through your right nostril. And as you do, visualize the glowing indigo violet plasma guiding through that precise, asymmetrical path of Ra's third spiral. Remember, in Swara Yoga and modern nasal cycle studies, right nostril breathing selectively stimulates the sympathetic, action-oriented pathways of the brain, increasing heart rate to get your heart on fire for Christ, and shifting cerebral blood flow to alter spatial and creative thinking strategies. You direct the chi up across the right shoulder, down and up the right arm, piercing into the right ear, cutting horizontally across the brain's hemispheres to the left ear, dropping down the left arm, passing through the stomach chakra and grounding out the left leg, or Hod in Kabbalah, into the Malkuth. This is Shiva's third spiral, the ultimate circle of transformation. That's why when you're done, you do the Shivasana, corpse pose, breaking the linear cognitive patterns and firing up a state of profound active imagination. So when you execute this three-step loop, you are not working with the vague imaginary cloud, as we've said earlier. Your breath creates a localized transient cascade of nitrates, nitrites, and reactive oxygen-nitrogen spirits species. These molecules act as free-floating, charge-carrying ions, the exact definition of a fluid plasma. This glowing chemical plasma rides on the physical highways of your bloodstream via rapid nitric oxide induced vasodilation in your cerebrospinal fluid. The deep, rhythmic, diaphragmic breathing acts as a mechanical pump, forcing the cerebrospinal fluid up the spinal column and into the brain ventricles. So the result is you have successfully turned your central nervous system into a self-contained braided Birkeland current, culminating in the zipping up of Ra's seventh ray violet envelope. Okay, so from here we will explore this violet ray, and I'll work myself into doing like a violet ray chanting thing or a video that will go for this. We'll move into that violet ray sort of ceremony in our next installment of the Buddha of the Basin. Until then, Om Shanti Om.
We're locked in the Goldilocks zone. We're stuck in the Goldilocks zone. Just let